Kings, Jazz, Salt Lake City. This is a tough place to play, Morgan. This is a hostile environment. It's tough on opening night because their fans are all fired up. And this Utah Jazz team does present problems for Sacramento. They've got a big front line that got bigger this offseason. They get John Collins. They still have Markkanen. Walker Kessler is a stud and a half.
Correct.
Some decent size. Even, THT, who is starting for them.
Dude.
He's super long.
He's big. He's big in the shoulders.
And he torched the Kings last preseason game.
Yeah.
Jordan Clarkson can get buckets.
Uh-huh.
Then you go to their bench, and that's where the questions start coming up. It's like, okay, you've got Colin Sexton, and what else? Chris Dunn shows some flashes, but a lot of young guys, right? They had 3 first-round picks. So it's a team that, as you project them this season, you go, I don't really see it in a crowded West when they don't have a point guard. It seemed like they really took a dip after trading Conley to Minnesota. But this specific game, tough environment, you got a bucket getter in Clarkson and long athletic players. They like to play some zone 2. It's not going to be an easy game. It's just not.
Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah, that's my whole point.
Like, where are you going with this? Yeah, I guess, but you say that, and here's my thing. There's not a single team in the West where I'm like, it's going to be an easy game. And that's why talking about this roster like that, I'm like, yeah, well, no shit. It's not going to be easy. But you're exactly right when it comes to like the length and when it comes to size. That's where we go. Last year, we saw the Sacramento Kings have issues with a lot of these long arms on both ends of the floor, right? Just finding ways to score in the paint, or whether it was on for the Kings, them defensively not being able to keep guys out of the paint. And so, yeah, it's a big, interesting test tomorrow for their first regular season game. But I'm with you. I think since the Jazz have kind of changed up what they were with Mike Conley, it's like they had that veteran leadership.
Yes.
That guy, that floor manager. And I think with this squad, it's a little mixed up, but they still have just so much talent and so much big talent that it's still going to be very tough.
I was looking at Sabonis' numbers against Utah last year. He averaged 19 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists against the Utah Jazz, shooting 31 of 50. But yeah, I mean, Utah, I'd have to go deeper in the games to see like who was actually playing in that. But
it's okay.
Yeah, the size has given Sacramento problems at times. And then the other thing they like to do is they throw some zone defense that
just screws with you.
I think it screws with every team, but a team like Sacramento, you catch on faster. And that was one irritating thing when we'd watch Sacramento last year. It's like, what do I do? If the people on the floor aren't noticing, then I need the bench to be yelling, they're in a zone. Tell what kind of zone is it?
Attack the gaps. Okay. Attack the gaps. Even when
you're fine.
If you don't have the ball, if you do have the ball, attack the gaps. Play your same game. Like the type of free offense that the Kings do play can still work well against so many different defenses. So yeah, that's something I definitely want to see them. It's just like noticing these things right away.
These two teams played some fun games last year. The one in Sacramento where Herter had the big 3, that was probably one of the loudest games I remember at Golden One Center. Just that moment when he sank it. And then in Utah, De'Aaron Fox had the game winner.
God.
Took it to the rack.
Oh, yes. I do recall. Oh, is that the one where then there was that last shot made by a Utah Jazz player?
By Markkanen, right?
Is that what it was?
It didn't go off in time.
That's what it was.
It was insane. Yes.
Okay. God, I have a bad memory, but
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
We had a chance to ask Mike Brown today about the Utah Jazz, and here's what he had to say.
Will does a great job. They run a lot of really good stuff. Their ball movement is good. They have guys that can go get it one-on-one situations off the dribble. They get guys that can shoot it. Like you said, they are long, and so they pose some challenges defensively. They junk it up a little defensively, too, with the way they play their zone and the way they slice the corners. And so it's a good test for us, obviously. That the altitude is a little different there, and at the end of the day, that's real. But That's where you have to have a mental toughness, a mental discipline to go in there and not let it impact you. So they got some different things that can give us headaches. But if we go and we play the way we're capable of, and I feel this against anybody, we should give ourselves a good chance to come out of any arena, especially our home arena, with a victory.
By the way, Utah was 23-18 at home last year. That was the same record the Kings had at home last year. Another wild thing about last year with Utah, some people may forget, they started 10-3 last year.
Oh, yes.
They got to a really good start.
People were very high on the Utah Jazz. And then when it kept going down, it was like, okay, this is who they really are. But yeah, I think looking at that game tomorrow too, because we keep talking about how this Kings offense is so powerful. It's early on, and I feel like shots are still missed a lot when it's early on. And I think about this offense for the Kings, and if they're missing those shots, and then it's difficult to get in the paint when Walker Kessler's in there protecting the rim, and they have other big bodies, long arms in there, John Collins, whoever else you want to name. I just go, how are you going to go up against those guys? And I think it's really important that you want to talk about physicality on the defensive end, being physical on the offensive end, going into a body and making sure you're not just like being soft when you do go to the rim.
I want to make those big bodies run. I want to push the pace a little bit, but the elevation in Salt Lake City, 4,265 feet. So not as challenging as Denver, but for the first game of the season, like even the Lakers tonight, you could train all you want. You haven't played in elevation in a minute. I think it is a real thing to factor in, early in the season, right?
Yes.
Like at the very start, you're not used to playing these heavy minutes against all the star players. You've been doing preseason and training camp. Now, for Sacramento's standpoint, they go hard. And I'm not just talking about preseason. I'm talking about their practices, their scrimmages. Like Mike Brown puts them through a lot to get ready for this point.
Absolutely. And I think when you do look at something like elevation, someone will say like, everyone does it in the league. And it's like, absolutely. But every body is different in the league, and it's going to affect people differently as well. So you only hope that it affects your team. I mean, your team, you can only hope it's going to be just fine.
Some things to watch in Kings Jazz. For me, the first one is just flat out defense. We've spent time on this tonight on the podcast. I wanted to just see what it looks like in a regular season game.
Okay.
When Mike Brown just called out his team right after practice and then spoke to the media about it, how do they respond? This has been something they've been talking about all camp long, and we've seen moments of it. I am super bullish on De'Aaron Fox's defense. I think he's absolutely brought it in the preseason. I know what Davion Mitchell could do. I've seen some stuff from Chris Duarte. I've seen some growth from Keegan Murray, Colby Jones. But as a collective, are there going to be better moments and fewer breakdowns? To me, that's one of the big things to watch in game one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. I think after watching so many different things in the preseason, I still don't have these high expectations for the defense to be figured out right away. And I'm not saying that you do with that. I think, are you thinking more like with individual defense things to look at?
I'm looking, yes, but I'm also looking for, are they playing with more physicality out there?
Okay.
Are they bumping guys a little more?
Yeah.
I don't want to see soft plays. I don't want to see major breakdowns. Now, breakdowns happen in a game, but
sure,
make sure we have better pick and roll defense out there if you're Sacramento.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a whole bunch of open looks from three. I just want to see a group that seems more locked in, understanding that there are going to be limitations because they don't have elite wing defenders on this team. They don't have a whole bunch of elite defensive talent, but they can make life more challenging, make this Utah Jazz team work.
I like that. I think something I'm going to look at, and I think it's a little bit unfair, but it's the same thing that we even did with Anthony Davis tonight for different reasons, though. Looking at what type of play he needs to have early on for his team in the Lakers. I'm going to say this for Kevin Huerter with the Kings, and the only reason why, obviously not comparing the talent of these two, but I'm saying that because there is a magnifying glass on Kevin Huerter in every move right now. In every single possession matters for him. I think the leash is just so short that if he is not doing the right thing, and I think the right thing isn't making shots. The right thing is making sure that you are crashing the boards and getting those rebounds. The right thing is being physical on the defensive end and not being the one not being the reason why the defense breaks down. Like all those things, you almost have to be perfect in to prove that you deserve to have that starting spot. And I think that really is going to start from game one for Kevin Herter. And I feel bad for him in a lot of ways, and that pressure is going to be on. But take that pressure and channel it into this like fire. Like find a way to just make you better. And it's going to be hard, but sometimes that's life.
The next thing for me, I want to see what Keegan looks like. Is he playing with that same aggressiveness? Are we seeing what we saw in the preseason from him? And if I'm the Kings, I want to get him going early too.
Hell yeah.
Run a couple plays. And they've done a good job with that in the preseason, getting him going in action. And I mean, he's had some nice dunks in the preseason because of that. But I just want to see that from the jump this year. Remember, the Kings started 0-4 last season.
I do remember that.
0-4. Could you imagine if they started 0-4 this year?
You know what's funny? I can.
No. You say that because like it's games are tough. You got the Jazz, the Warriors, the Lakers, blah 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 blah. But imagine what the conversations would be if this team started 0-4.
Blah, blah, blah. Don't care. I just care about what they look like on the floor. That was the thing even in the 0-4 last season. I was like, yeah, but it's different. Like, they're still playing good basketball. They just haven't figured it out together. They haven't figured it out together, and then boom, then they figure it out together, and then it was one of their best years ever. So it's like, I'm not saying I hope it takes 4 games for them to figure it out to get a win again or anything, but that's where I stand with something like that. But going off of what you kind of said of things to look at, I'm with you when it comes to Keegan. I want to see him go into the chest of like Walker Kessler tomorrow. You know, like, yeah, like give him a little elbow there.
Don't catch your body. Huh?
Yeah, like just, and I don't mean that in an evil way. I just mean that in a physical way of how it's the only way you're going to draw a foul. It's the only way that you're going to make a basket tomorrow is just being the bigger player tomorrow.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be so much fun. Are you excited?
I'm beyond excited. I'm also nervous, you know? Expectations just bring you, but I also have confidence. I'm all over the place.
I can tell. I'm nervous. Like, who are you? Are you getting ready for the game tomorrow? You putting on a jersey? I'm kidding.
We live this shit,
I know,
Morgan.
but your nerves, it's cute. Like, it's sweet. It's like, I'm nervous. I can picture you like actually putting on like a Kings jersey and feeling like you're one of the players tomorrow.
Mike Brown makes that call.
Let us know in the comments below what you want to see in the first game of the season. And no, we will be live after every single Kings game, including opening night, Kings Jazz, live at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time.